Myrtle and the Foundation of Unity was founded on choice. She shares with us, you do not have a problem except the one that is in your mind and you put it there. That statement 10 years ago probably would not have made sense to me. I would not have understood the power of choice and that we get to choose who we are, what we believe, and what we accept and how we show up. The first time that I found out and realized I had a choice was from this woman, Susan Weed. I met her in 2015 when I showed up for a shamanic apprenticeship. She introduced me to the 4 directions and has since become my East, the power of the East. She helped me understand the power of choice. She helped me understand wholeness and how to actually nourish myself and accept myself, all of myself, the darkness, the light, the whole spectrum, something that she embodies in a way that I had never experienced before. She embodies and embraces wholeness in a way that I still to this day am in awe by what I got to experience with her. She helped me understand perspective and how to see differently. I didn't even understand that was an option or what seeing meant until I met her. When I showed up at Susan's, this is what I showed up with. I was 3 months sober, and I had just experienced ayahuasca multiple times and was wide open, ready to become something that I could not even comprehend at the time. When I showed up at her house, it was terrifying, yet liberating by the time I left. I had no idea what to expect. And when she realized that this is what I came with, she wanted to help me find a way out. These are all of the medicines I tried to find my way home from all of this. What I learned from her and what I learned in that experience was that I had never actually been in my body. I had been on pharmaceuticals and disassociated since I was 15 years old. I had no idea that I never emotionally developed and that there were parts of myself that I never even comprehended. So now at age 39, when I met her, I was 3 months off pharmaceuticals after being on them for 25 years. Having no idea that it created such a disassociation and disconnection from every aspect of my being. When she shared that with me, I couldn't fully comprehend it, because how can you comprehend something that you've never actually experienced? I was so open, so desperate for love, so desperate for connection, and so desperate for understanding. She taught me how to see different. She taught me how to be different. And she taught me incredible skills that I'm still uncovering. I lived with her 3 times in the last decade. And each time I went deeper. She helped me understand the wise woman tradition, which is something that can't even normally be comprehended because we can't understand nourishment or preventative maintenance. When we do certain things to set the space or set the mood or set the nourishment, it's hard to understand the magnitude of what we're really doing. And trying to integrate what she taught me took time. She taught me the skills and she gave me the way, but I still couldn't figure out how to actually make it work and become who I chose to become once she gave me that choice. I was desperate, I was searching, and these are all the places I looked. In that space, in my understanding, everything I was searching for was out there. She told me it was inside of me, but I still couldn't figure out how to get there. Because how do you experience or get something that you've never actually experienced and can't comprehend? I wanted love. I was chasing it. I was desperate for it. I was searching for it. I was willing to do anything. But I still couldn't comprehend how to embody or bring forth something that I had not experienced. And so, again, just like I found Susan, by desperately searching and then asking Spirit and my spirit guides to please make it bluntly obvious because I was clueless, I had to admit again, I'm sorry, I hear you, but without those models of behavior or without the space, again, how do I learn and become something that I can't comprehend? These are all of the roles I embodied trying to figure it out. These are all the things I've done. I'm like, okay, because she told me I could try on personalities and roles just like I tried on prom dresses. And I did not have to stick to anyone, try them out. So I tried them out. And it came back to realizing that I chose Willow Green for a reason. I don't need all those labels. I just need me. She told me I was enough. And I believed her, but I still didn't know how to just relax and be. So I kept looking. What is this love? And that's when I came across him, my North, Jesse Elder. The first words I heard from him is, I want to make the world a better place for me and my friends. I believed him. His passion, his energy, it inspired me. It brought out parts of myself that I didn't even know that existed. The intensity and emotion I felt in his presence when I listened to his words, when I listened to his message, brought out both the best of me and the worst of me. I became emotionally paralyzed. I had no idea what I was asking for or what I was doing or what I was getting myself into. When he talked about qualified voices, that helped me find my way. What he meant was, and what he explained, was that a qualified voice is someone who speaks from experience, period. The only qualified voices are the voices of someone who has actually walked the path. That helped me tremendously because I was believing people and trusting people that hadn't walked the path. I learned so much when I understood the difference between a qualified voice and just a voice, and between experience and book knowledge. We can all read books and get certifications and come to conclusions, but it's very different when you actually have the experience and walk the path. I was in so much pain at the time because I was so disconnected from my body and getting back in that I didn't know how to handle it. The pain would create paralysis. I would go into emotional paralysis and just completely freeze and not know what to do. I hadn't felt my body for probably, it was over 25 years. Because when you take pharmaceuticals and you numb the pain, you're also numbing the pleasure. You numb everything. You cannot just numb part of it. So I had been numb for over 25 years. And at the time, when this emotion and this incredible sensation was coming through my body, I also had breast implants. Because I got them to feel confident and comfortable and realized that they were actually destroying me. My heart would beat, and I felt it for the first time. That intense, and that vibration would go through those implants. And it felt like I had jumper cables connected to my nipples. So between that sensation of pain paralyzing my body, I also realized that since I had been disassociated since I was 15, that I was also experiencing adolescence and emotional maturity in a 40-year-old body. And saying that, I was in a 40-year-old body. I also I only have half my lady parts. So I was also going through menopause. So during that paralysis, I was experiencing both menopause and adolescence simultaneously. That is when Jesse introduced us to Mike Kempsky and the Power of My South. This man has principles. Like Unity, they're principles. They're ideas. They're a way. He introduced me to discernment. I was on a death cycle. I had tried to commit suicidal. Energetically, all I knew how to do was self-destruct and start over. Self-destruct and start over. But how do you integrate all of that medicine, all of this wisdom, everything I've learned when all you know how to do is self-destruct and start over? There was no integration. No one talks about integration. They talk about awakening, but awakening is only part of it. How do you actually embody it? How do you actually walk through it? How do you actually become that which you are desperate to become? Mike cut out all the fluff. He actually said, be curious. Keep it simple. One thing at a time. The principles taught me how to focus. Once I learned how to focus, it changed everything. Susan taught me how to see, which allowed me to see so much. But then it just created more overwhelm. Mike taught me how to focus on what was important to me, how to actually find my way, how to actually walk my path with integrity, with grace, and to do it consciously, and actually pay attention to what I'm learning. I still needed to understand how to be. All of this stuff was helping me, but I was still stuck in this space where I was not graceful. I knew I had to be different, but at that time, my voice, I talked, it was super high. I choked on my words a lot because, again, the pain was so intense. Is that pointing because this mic's not working? Is this better? Okay. When I was going through this process, I cried every single day for over 2 years as my body woke up. Imagine a rubber glove out in the sun and how that rubber or a rubber band gets so dry and stuck, and then you go to break it open. That's what it felt like in my body when it was waking up. The equivalent to what it would be like blowing that glove up, or if you have pins and needles when your foot falls asleep or your hand falls asleep and it's coming back, that sensation. I felt it for over 2 years straight as my body was reconnecting and I was feeling. I was scared out of my mind. I almost didn't make it. I wanted to give up. I didn't know what else to do. Because while these 3 people were teaching me all of this, I still didn't feel safe, because when I showed up and I expressed myself, it did not come out graceful. And a lot of what I experienced was people focusing on the words or my panic or my extreme emotion. Emotion, 25 years of emotion that was not allowed to come out was coming out, and I couldn't contain it. And the more I tried, the more pain I experienced. And that's when I met Deanna, my West. Why did I choose her? When I called for my consultation, or my, call to see if I wanted to join her program, she just breathed with me. For 30 minutes, she just breathed with me. She didn't try to sell me anything. She didn't make me explain myself. She didn't force anything. She just knew I needed to breathe, and she sat there and breathed with me. And at the end of that call, she said, "Do you have any questions?" And my question was this: how do I sign up if I want to move forward with you? She said, "I'll send you a link," and she did. That was 2 days before Christmas, and on Christmas Eve, I signed up. Through her, I learned compassion, I learned grace, and what she did for me when I would call her in that panic, freaking out, is she would hear me,
And then she would say, if I understand you correctly, this is your intention. And she would get clear on what I was trying to say, totally not focusing on the that it was coming through. And she'd say, wonderful. I hear you, and now we need to soften it. Please don't say anything you just did. And she would work with me on my message, but that was the first time someone saw me and heard me, and instead of focusing on the way that it was coming out, understood that if I'm doing it from a very pure intention, and I'm trying, and I need help delivering the message, and that's what she does. She also is different because instead of saying, great, go through my program and peace out, she said, once you go through my program, you have lifelong access. She has weekly support. She has support in ways that we wouldn't even know. She offers a path with integrity and consistency. And you get to choose how long you stay. And through that program, I have met some of the most amazing people I have ever experienced, because everyone shows up with one intention: to support people going through trauma, not judge them, not condemn them, but instead to see them, hear them, and try to help them out. What do these 4 people have in common? Not one of them tried to sell me medicine. Not one of them tried to sell me a procedure. Not one of them tried to sell me anything. They all offered me a path and an opportunity to empower myself. But I had to choose to work with them. I had to choose to trust them, and I had to do the work. What I learned from them is that people who have actually done the work and understand it will never try to sell you anything, ever. Because they understand what it's going to actually do to you and how much it's going to disrupt your life. They help me understand by asking me questions and allowing me to make choices. And then when I would make a choice, help me understand the consequences of that choice and give me the opportunity to choose again. But I needed that because, again, if no one actually gives us a space to do it wrong, to make mistakes, to try, how do we learn? We get punished out there in the wild. It's terrifying. It's scary. But it doesn't have to be. It can be the most blissful experience ever. And that's what they helped me figure out. Through them, through this path, what I learned was that death is an initiation. It's an opportunity. It's an invitation. Because I was already dead. What they offered me was the opportunity to live fully by showing me how to walk through the pain and through the fear. Because that's the only path there is. What I learned was what I fear is what's robbing me of being present today. My pain was my greatest teacher. Our pain is where the power's at. That's where the wisdom lies. That's where the magic's at. But we have to have the courage to face the pain and understand it. That's the hard part. That's the part that takes work. That's the integration. That's the power. What I learned was by going from the medical world to the plant world, all I did was trade one matrix for another. Because from moving from medicine to medicine, it was still giving away my power It was still creating a dependency outside of myself. What I had to learn was how to find that power within, how to bring it forth, how to integrate it, how to be. And that's the real work. That's the work that very few people talk about, in my experience. To actually walk the path without depending on anything else and without getting stuck in another trap. It's to see through the illusions, through the traps, and actually figure out who we are, which can be fun and exciting, and who we're not. I want to acknowledge my mother in this crazy experience that I've had, because Willow Green actually has only existed for 10 years. So in this 20-year experience, I'll be 50 years old this year, 10 years sober, and 20 years since my suicide attempt. So for the 10 of those 20 years, I was still the old version of me. After getting out of rehab, I still drank. I still lied to myself. I still couldn't figure out how to get through. When I met Susan, that's when Willow Green was born. When she told me I could be whoever I chose to be, I chose to be Willow Green. And then I chose to figure out what that meant. It was almost like, well, I don't want to go there. It was, I had to figure out who I was and who I wasn't. I was told that you can choose your family. You don't have to go back. I can be whoever I choose to be. I chose to be Willow Green. I can keep going. I don't have to go back to my bloodline. It's a choice. You can't go back and heal where you've been hurt. But in my mind, that didn't make sense to me. My mom has been one of my biggest advocates. She supported my name change. She supported everything I was doing to the best of her ability, just like she had always supported me to the best of her ability. We do the best that we can with what we have at that time and the perspective that we have. The beauty is, when my path wasn't working with me and I chose a different path, and she showed up and supported me. What we learned was that we can choose to speak a new language. That when you love each other and you show up for each other, don't get stuck on the words. Instead, realize that we just need to learn new communication systems, new ways to support, new ways to be. We learned nonviolent communication, which was suggested in Deanna's course. We learned how powerful our words are and how they create the energy around the conversation. We learned that when two people care and love each other enough and continue to show up and do the work, we can figure it out. We can learn a new way to communicate, and we can learn new ways to support each other. So I'm honored and privileged to say that my mother and I almost did not make it, but we continued to choose each other, and today she's back to being one of my best friends ever and my biggest advocates, and I am hers. There's no way that I could have done this without her. And without my grandfather, who has been a support system for me in ways that it's hard to explain. And he is crossed, and he is one of my guardian angels. He is one of my greatest gifts. He has believed in me and invested in me so many times because he saw my light and he saw my dedication and he saw that I was willing to do the work. My brother as well. He has been an advocate. When I was lost in my drugs and completely lost, my brother said, "Come home. We got you." And my brother has been influential in helping me and my mother. So, yeah, we don't have to choose our bloodline, especially when our bloodline is directly responsible for who we've become. But we can if we choose to. If we choose love. If we choose not to walk away. If we choose to face the fear, we choose to face the pain, and we choose to own all of us. Because my history and my bloodline is who I am. It's where I came from. And by not acknowledging that, loving that, and accepting that, then am I really truly accepting all of me? And how am I modeling what's possible if I choose to run from who I was? And that took me a long time to figure that out. When I became Willow Green, I did not like the version of myself that kept trying to commit suicide. I was full of shame and rage and hate. And I got to learn how to transform that into something else. I learned to alchemize pain. I learned to alchemize fear. And I learned to face it head on. And that is one of the most liberating and empowering things that we can do. However, it's also one of the most challenging and difficult things we will ever face if we choose to. And we have a choice. We always have the choice. The more that we choose to face consciously now, the freer our life becomes. With that, I leave you with this. I am Willow Green, a clear conduit, grounded in integrity, embodying neutrality, steward of sacred space, wisdom, and experiences. Because I choose to be, and I have worked very hard to become that and continue to work very hard to be that person every single day. You have a choice. Choose wisely.